California is the only state in the West that has literally no regulation, no rules about pumping water out of the underground.
Wow.
So we have unlimited pumping, and the land is caving in because you're pumping so much water from underneath. And again, the bigger you are as a corporation, the more money you have to pump water from deeper down. So there's a race to the bottom to pump water in unlimited amounts. We don't even know how much water is being pumped out. We have no clue what is getting pumped out of the underground.
The accessibility of water. I love water. And everywhere I go, I have access to clean, good water. But most of times, they are in plastic bottles. And this was not the case 30 years ago, or even 20 years ago. And I wonder what are the effects of all this plastic manufacturing plants and what kind of an impact it has on the soil.
Worst drought in 400 years in California, and we don't even feel it because we happen to be in a city that isn't being hit by it. But you move right over the hill to Santa Cruz, they're one of the top 10 to run out within the next year. And it's really interesting, actually. The CEO of Nestle has been quoted saying 5 years ago, 3 years ago, something like that, but just recently, he doesn't believe that water is a personal right anymore. And after saying that this year, while we were going through the worst drought we've been through in 400 years, Nestle is actually bottling water, I think something like 40 million gallons in the heart of the drought of our state right now. And essentially what's going on right now is major companies are privatizing water. And that's huge. That's a huge concept, because if there's anything as basic that we all need, if there's anything we couldn't relate to more, it's the fact that we all need water.
The dam down there, that's dried up too, almost completely. And that's something you want to check out, because they would use the water for distribution to residentials and business. But golly, anymore, yeah, water's a big problem.
I don't think that we've really been hit with a big enough shortage of water that there's enough attention put on water. We all know that the biggest battles of the world are coming, and a lot of them are going to be based on water and water supply. The countries that have water, Africa is going into a drought. It's seen some huge major drought, huge famines, and it looks like, just by the weather patterns that people follow, in certain areas of California we're going to have more water, in certain areas of California we'll have less water. And in big regions like Africa that affect nations, there's no sustainability, and it's not based on right or wrong. Just like wars in the Middle East, they're not based on right or wrong anymore. There are different ideologies that people can't agree on. And water is definitely going to be a big factor. It already is a big factor. And if you look at my region, we get a big water supply through the Banyas, which is where the snow melt in the mountains that really Syria sits on. And the Jordan River is supplied by that melt of water, and which used to supply the Dead Sea, and the Dead Sea is now it's shrinking to a no sea. because the water is used along the way. And all those things in every country, in every part of the world, are going to be bigger factors because it's not something that you can do without.
As an example, I think I mentioned that before to you, 80% of the world almonds are being produced in California. Almonds are very water intensive, relatively speaking, the trees. Does it make sense to spend all that water on almond trees? Or can we do better? Can we do something else in California? So it's a question of what do we use the resources for, and how much do we subsidize them? How much welfare do we hand out to these businesses? So somebody decided to give a lot of handouts to the almond industry. And this is just one tiny example.
The drought in the western United States is a very real thing. Unfortunately, in California, it's hugely exacerbated by the fact that Los Angeles County takes their water from the northern part of the state, which is where the massive centers of agriculture are, which has turned into a legislated dust bowl. It's a real... It's going to take a lot of work on all sides to fix this sort of problem. Having the cities work on conserving all of their resources, possibly legislating how much water people can and can't use for additional things. The impact it's had on farms is just monstrous, especially when it comes to feeding such a large population. I'm not sure, other than desalinating ocean water, it doesn't seem like there's an immediate fix to such a problem unless the drought breaks, which in a desert climate is highly, highly unlikely.
We don't even have that much drinking water, fresh water on the planet, and we're drinking and polluting what we have, and that's why there's no more water for people to drink. There's no clean water because all the big companies and corporations, I don't know, factories and whatever, they take all of their chemical waste and they just dump it into oceans and seas and places that no one is looking without even thinking or even caring that it has consequences, and someone else has to pay for these consequences.
My baby left me, I found a new place to dwell.